The first sign was the phone. Face down, always. A nervous habit, he said. But it wasn't just the phone. It was the way he would glance at it, almost as if he was expecting something or someone. The way he would quickly turn it over if I walked into the room. My gut screamed otherwise. Then came the late nights at work. He used to come home early, eager to spend time with me. Now he had endless meetings, urgent deadlines and projects that seemed to never end. The excuses piled up, each one more elaborate than the last. The rushed calls, hushed whispers. He was distant, a million miles away. I would catch snippets of conversations, words that made no sense, names I didn't recognize. He would step out of the room to take calls, his voice dropping to a whisper. My heart, once overflowing with love, began to crack. The laughter we shared, the intimate moments all seemed like distant memories. I felt a growing chasm between us, one that I couldn't bridge no matter how hard I tried.
His cologne lingered on my skin long after he was gone. It was a scent I had come to associate with comfort, with love. But now it felt like a ghost, a reminder of what we once had. But it was a different scent, sharper, unfamiliar. It clung to his clothes, his hair. It was subtle, but unmistakable. A scent that didn't belong to me, or to our home. My mind raced, conjuring images I didn't want to see. I imagined him with someone else, laughing, sharing secrets, being intimate. The thought was unbearable, a knife twisting in my heart. Was he seeing someone else? The thought was a physical blow, leaving me breathless and terrified. I felt a wave of nausea, my world spinning out of control. How could this be happening? How could he betray me like this?
I confided in my best friend, Sarah. Her eyes, usually sparkling with warmth, turned cold. She listened, but there was a distance in her gaze, a hesitation in her voice.
"You're overthinking it," she said, her voice lacking its usual concern. She tried to reassure me, but her words felt hollow, empty. I could see the doubt in her eyes, the uncertainty. But I knew deep down something was terribly wrong. My intuition, usually dormant, roared to life. Every fiber of my being screamed that something was amiss, that my world was about to shatter. My intuition, usually dormant, roared to life. It was a feeling I couldn't ignore, a truth I couldn't escape. The sands were shifting beneath my feet, and I had to face the reality, no matter how painful it was.
The nights were the worst. The silence was deafening, punctuated only by the ticking of the clock. Each tick seemed to echo through the empty room, a constant reminder of the passing time and the growing distance between us. I lay awake, listening to the rhythm of his breathing, waiting for him to slip away. The darkness seemed to amplify every sound, every rustle of the sheets, every sigh. I could feel the tension in the air, a palpable weight pressing down on me. Twice I caught him sneaking out. The first time I was too shocked to react, too stunned to do anything but watch as he slipped out the door. The second time I was ready, my heart pounding in my chest as I confronted him.
The first time he claimed he was getting milk. At 2 a.m.? His excuse was flimsy, a weak attempt to cover up the truth. I wanted to believe him, but the doubt had already taken root in my mind. My heart sank. The second time he said he couldn't sleep and went for a drive. The look in his eyes was different, distant, as if he was already somewhere else. I knew he was lying, but I didn't have the strength to confront him again. I saw the lie in his eyes, the way he avoided my gaze. It was as if he couldn't bear to look at me, couldn't face the truth of what he was doing. Each lie was like a dagger to my heart, a painful reminder of the growing chasm between us. The evidence was mounting, each lie a nail in the coffin of our love. I found receipts, messages, little clues that painted a picture of betrayal. It was like a puzzle, each piece fitting together to reveal a truth I didn't want to see. I was determined to catch him. I couldn't live with the uncertainty, the constant doubt gnawing at my mind. I needed to know the truth, no matter how painful it might be.
I stayed up, my eyes glued to the clock. Each tick seemed to stretch out, the minutes dragging by as I waited for him to make his move. The anticipation was almost unbearable, a knot of anxiety tightening in my chest. When he finally stirred, I pretended to be asleep. My heart was racing, my mind a whirlwind of thoughts and fears. I listened to the sound of his footsteps, the soft rustle of his clothes as he got out of bed. I heard the soft click of the door, the whisper of his footsteps fading into the night. My blood ran cold. This was it, the moment of truth. I knew I had to follow him, to see where he was going, to finally uncover the secrets he had been hiding. Exhaustion gnawed at me, but fear was a more potent stimulant. I was constantly tired, my body heavy, my mind sluggish. I chalked it up to stress, the emotional turmoil taking its toll. But a seed of doubt had been planted.
One morning I found a stray pill under the bathroom sink. It wasn't one of mine. Panic seized me. Was I being drugged? The thought sent chills down my spine. Was he trying to keep me oblivious, too tired to question his actions?
I confronted him, my voice trembling with a mixture of anger and fear.
He laughed it off, called me paranoid, but his eyes, usually filled with love, were cold and calculating. The man I loved was gone, replaced by a stranger wearing his skin.
Sarah was my rock, my confidant, or so I thought. Lately, she'd been distant, her advice laced with an odd detachment. One day, I overheard her on the phone, her voice hushed but urgent.
"Don't worry," she was saying. "She suspects nothing. It's all going according to plan."
My blood ran cold. What plan? Who was she talking to? A terrifying realization dawned on me. It couldn't be, could it? Was Sarah involved in this? Was she complicit in my misery?
The thought was like a punch to the gut. My best friend, the one person I trusted implicitly, had betrayed me in the most unimaginable way. The world tilted on its axis, and I felt myself falling into a dark abyss. My mind raced, piecing together the fragments of their deceit. The late-night calls, the strange scent, the pill, Sarah's odd behavior, all made sense now. I was trapped in a web of lies, spun by the two people I trusted most. I confronted Sarah, my voice shaking with rage and betrayal.
She denied everything, her eyes wide and innocent. But I saw the flicker of guilt, the telltale sign of a liar. She tried to explain, but her words were empty, meaningless.
The realization hit me like a physical blow. They had been playing me for a fool, laughing behind my back. My love, my trust, my friendship, all of it had been a lie. The pain was unbearable, a gaping wound in my soul. Fear coiled in my stomach, cold and unrelenting. If they were capable of this, what else could they do? I had to get away, to escape their web of deceit. But how? They were always one step ahead, their lies suffocating me. I tried to leave, to run, but something always held me back. A whispered threat, a drugged drink, a sudden illness. I was a prisoner in my own home, my every move watched, my every thought anticipated. The walls seemed to close in, the air thick with suspicion and fear. I was trapped, caught in a nightmare of their making. My life, once filled with love and laughter, had become a twisted game, and I was the pawn.
The end came swiftly, brutally.
I woke up in darkness, my wrists and ankles bound, a gag stifling my screams. Panic surged through me, hot and suffocating. Where was I? What was happening?
Then I saw him. He stood before me, a sinister grin twisting his lips. Beside him, Sarah, her face devoid of any emotion. The betrayal was complete, the mask of friendship ripped away.
Why?
I managed to choke out the single word muffled by the gag.
You were always so trusting, so easy to manipulate.
He chuckled, a chilling sound that sent shivers down my spine.
We needed you out of the way. You were getting too close.
Too close to what? The question echoed in my mind.
Sarah and I were in love, but you were an obstacle, a nuisance.
My blood ran cold. It was all a lie, a cruel charade designed to get rid of me. But why go to such lengths? Why not just leave? The answer, when it came, was far more sinister than I could have ever imagined.
You were right about the pills, but it wasn't to keep you quiet. It was to make you sick, to drive you insane.
He waved a document in front of my face, my insurance policy. It all clicked into place. The staged affair, the drugged drinks, the fake concern, it was all part of their twisted plan to cash in on my death. They had been slowly poisoning me, driving me to the brink of madness, all for a hefty insurance payout. The depth of their betrayal, the cold-blooded calculation of it all was unfathomable. They were monsters, hiding in plain sight, their true nature concealed beneath a veneer of love and friendship. As I stared into the eyes of the man I once loved, the woman I considered a sister, A chilling truth settled over me. The world is a stage, and some people are simply better actors than others. Their performances were so convincing, their lies so well rehearsed, that I had been completely blindsided. It was as if I had been living in a play, unaware of the script that had been written for me. Every smile, every touch, every whispered word had been part of an elaborate act. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks, leaving me breathless and disoriented. They had played their parts flawlessly, their deceit so intricate, so insidious that I never saw it coming. I had trusted them with my heart, my secrets, my life, and they had betrayed me in the most profound way possible. The depth of their deception was staggering, and I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. Their plan had almost worked, but fate, it seemed, had other plans. A noise at the door startled them. It was a small sound, barely noticeable, but it was enough to break the spell. They turned towards the door, their expressions shifting from confidence to fear in an instant. A neighbor, alerted by the commotion, had called the police. The police sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder with each passing second. The sound was both terrifying and comforting, a signal that help was on the way. I could see the panic in their eyes, the realization that their carefully laid plans were unraveling, their faces contorted in panic, their carefully constructed facade crumbling before my eyes. I could only watch, a mixture of horror and grim satisfaction washing over me as their world came crashing down. The nightmare was finally over, but the scars, both physical and emotional, would remain. A constant reminder of the day I discovered the terrifying truth about the people I loved most. As the police arrived and took them away, I felt a strange sense of relief. The weight of their lies had been lifted, but the damage they had done was irreversible. I was left to pick up the pieces of my shattered life, to rebuild and heal from the wounds they had inflicted. The road to recovery would be long and arduous, but I knew I had to keep moving forward. The scars, both physical and emotional, would remain, a constant reminder of the day I discovered the terrifying truth about the people I loved most. But I also knew that I was stronger than I had ever realized. I had survived their betrayal, and I would continue to survive, to thrive despite the pain they had caused. The haunting truth had been revealed, and now it was time to reclaim my life and my future.